If you've been scrolling through endless listings of orbital shakers, staring at spec sheets that all look the same, and still feel that uneasy tug of doubt dash, will this really shake my samples the way I need? You're not alone. I've been there, comparing brand names, motor types, and price points, only to end up more confused because none of the product pages tell you how it actually behaves on a lab bench. That's why today's rundown is all about cutting through the marketing fluff and showing you exactly where the IKA Control Model Variable Speed Digital Orbital Shaker fits in a real-world workflow. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the kind of work that usually calls for an orbital shaker. In my experience, the sweet spot is anything that needs a gentle, consistent swirl. Think cell culture flasks, small volume reagent tubes, or even a batch of enzyme solutions you're trying to keep evenly mixed while they sit at room temperature. The IKA's electronically controlled motor promises accurate shaking under heavy loads. And that claim matters when you're juggling multiple 50 milliliters conical tubes that together weigh close to the 4 pounds, 2 kilograms, limit. In practice, you'll find that the motor holds its speed even as the load shifts, which is a subtle but huge win over a cheaper, belt-driven model that tends to wobble when the weight distribution changes. One of the first things I tested was how the digital display handles speed and time settings. The screen is bright enough to read from across the bench, and you can dial in a speed from 30 to 300 revolutions per minute in increments that feel granular, not just low, medium, high. For a protocol that asks for 75 revolutions per minute for 15 minutes, you can set that exact number and walk away. The timer counts down and then flashes when it's done, giving you a visual cue without needing to listen for a beep. In a busy lab where you have several shakers running in parallel, that visual confirmation cuts down on accidental overmixing. Now, the attachment flexibility is where the IK starts to feel more like a lab partner than a piece of equipment you bolt down and forget about. The platform accepts the standard IKA adapters, but also takes a variety of third-party racks and beakers that you might already own. I tried a 250 milliliters glass bottle, a set of 15 milliliters centrifuge tubes, and even a custom 96-well plate holder that a colleague had printed on a 3D printer. In each case, the orbital motion stayed true to the set speed, meaning the shaking action is transferred evenly regardless of the shape of the container. That's a practical strength you don't see on the spec sheet. You can adapt the shaker to new protocols without buying a whole new accessory kit. On the flip side, the 4 pounds maximum load does impose a hard ceiling. If your routine involves shaking large culture flasks, 2-liter bottles, or heavy glass reactors, you'll quickly hit that limit and the motor will start to stall. The unit is designed for precision, not brute force, so it's not the right choice for high-throughput industrial mixing. Another practical downside is that the unit runs on a 115V line, which is standard in most US labs, but can be a hassle in international settings where 230V is the norm. You'll need a step-down transformer, adding cost, and a bit of extra wiring complexity. Who should actually consider buying this shaker? If you're a research scientist running a modest number of parallel cultures, a teaching lab that needs a reliable device for undergraduate experiments, or a small biotech startup that can't afford a full-scale incubated shaker, the IKA Control Model hits the sweet spot. Its precise speed control, dependable motor under load, and flexible attachment options make it a solid workhorse for those scenarios. The price point sits a little higher than the entry-level models, but you're paying for that electronic motor and the confidence that the speed won't drift during a 12-hour incubation. Who might want to skip it? Anyone whose workflow revolves around large volume fermenters, heavy glassware, or continuous flow bioreactors will find the weight limit restrictive. Likewise, if you're setting up a high-density screening operation with dozens of plates running simultaneously, you'll probably need a shaker that's built for a larger footprint and can handle heavier plate holders without stressing the motor. In those cases, looking at a larger orbital shaker or a rocking platform designed for plates would be more cost-effective. Let's talk about the hidden trade-offs that only show up after you've got the unit in the lab. The IKA's quiet motor is a pleasant surprise. It's not silent, but it's far less rattling than a gear-driven unit, which means you can place it on a bench next to a microscope without the vibration leaking into delicate imaging work. That said, the unit does not have built-in temperature control, So if your protocol calls for shaking at 37°C, you'll need an external incubator or a separate heating block. It's an extra piece of equipment, but it's also an intentional design decision IKA chose to focus on.